Health and wellness are more than a destination. They are a process and a journey of personal choice. Come hear from people out in the field, doing the work, bringing health and wellness to many. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Here I am so delighted that I have Dolores Andrew. She has a wealth of knowledge to share with us today. She is a shamanic astrologer, a wellness trainer. She trains and puts on wellness retreats, I believe, holistic health coach. She wants to empower women and people to live their life intentionally. How beautiful is that? So we welcome you very much here today, Dolores. I'd like to just start out by tell me a little bit about what brought you to become a shamanic astrologer.
Good morning, Kathleen. Thanks very much for having me on. Delighted to speak to you. Yes, my journey really, I suppose, it's like when we join the dots backwards. I certainly didn't know anything about astrology before I ended up here. So I was in law straight after school, something that it wasn't a self-chosen career, which is a huge part of my journey and my healing around speaking my truth and following my dream. But anyway, my mother, God bless her, um, out of goodness, wanted me to get a job after school and go straight into an industry. And she did it from wanting to help me to start work, not to go to college, and she just would worry about things like that. And nobody in the family had gone to college before. So I ended up on a 20-year legal career, which wasn't self-chosen, but which served me until the recession of 2008 here in Ireland. It was global, but I lost my job, and that was the catalyst for change. And I think there's always really, I can see that from my blueprint that's these catalysts will happen to knock me off what I'm doing and to put me basically on the life trajectory that I'm supposed to be on, for want of a better way to say it. So I retrained. Losing my job coincided with the birth of my second son. So I became inadvertently a stay-at-home mom of two boys, a 5-year-old and a baby. So I retrained then from almost within a couple of months, starting in the wellness. I always had an inclination. And through this journey, then I have started this, first of all, with energy work, but getting very interested in the emotional development of children because I was home with my boys and really studying that. So, as well as the energy work I was learning, I was also getting very interested in the whole emotional intelligence and how we grow, how different kids act out differently. The playground used to both upset me and delight me, watching the antics, watching some kids maybe play on their own and kind of feeling sorry for those, whilst sometimes those kids are okay on their own. Just watching all this development. So it went on then, and I studied various different therapies and modalities. And in 2015, I had a lady that I was studying my shamanic work with, which I had studied couple of years earlier, but she, to pay me back for something I had done for her, said, I want to read your birth chart for you to say thank you. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And by God, she blew me away. And that's what actually started me on a road to studying myself first, but then to take a professional course because I could see the value in really understanding our blueprint and how we can start to live intentionally when we know our strengths, our weaknesses, our challenges, etc., etc. So that's what really got me to here.
You have learned a lot of different things, but that makes you unique. So we can't really say you're one thing because you're many things and you put them together to help others. And I think that's so wonderful. So I'm curious, what exactly, like if you have a client right now and you want to help them understand and heal, how do you begin?
Always with someone where they are right now and a real just even stating that, because whilst we all have fundamental needs that we need to be met in order to reach our full potential, we have basic needs. We have a need to feel safe and secure. We have a need to feel seen, heard, and to feel like we belong. They really, to me, are the fundamental needs I see across my clients. So it's talking to someone, where are you now? Because unfortunately, we spend a lot of time comparing ourselves to other people. But really, the start of any journey is, let's look at some of these fundamental needs. And because I did my training, my coaching as soul work, it was reading really the story that somebody tells me. It's going deeper with those layers. So I was very much trained that way, in contemporary shamanism, looking at the soul story that wants to come through. So it really is pulling back those layers, as I say, with those fundamental needs and starting where we are now, and really telling someone that it doesn't matter where that is, because sometimes a client will, you know that they want to be somewhere else, but we stop that and we go, well, where are we now? And I do it really through the whole, I suppose, storytelling. Tell me your story, where you are now, and let's see what underlying beliefs and patterns and inherited values maybe that we're dealing with. So that's where I always start. Where are you now?
And it's so important because actually we only have the moment of now. The now moment is where we are creating our reality. And so going to that moment is powerful. Now, I'm curious. So, and we're looking at also the ancestral. I know from my work, we can carry a lot of things through the ancestors. We can carry them through generations. You see them on the charts of people. I'm sure you can even see, you said you see their challenges or maybe traumas even coming through the birth chart. I'm curious well, first of all, what is an ancestral blueprint?
We can really look at, the inherited patterns that we may bring with us. For example, we look at in terms of a excuse me, a birth chart, different personal planets, like say Mercury would be considered a personal planet, deals with our communication. This encompasses the way we hear, the way we process our thoughts, and the way we communicate. So if we have, let's say, Mercury, I know this one well, in a challenging, let's say, position in our birth chart, we can see that, so that we can see then what energy our communication is likely to be. So I give an example of that. For me, I have my Mercury in Pisces. So I would look at the layers like this. What is Pisces? Pisces is a water sign. I would look at how Mercury then communicates, what way Mercury communicates through this element of water. It's not through the element of air. And Mercury would be a sign that it's about our head. So it does very well in signs like Gemini and Virgo, again, air. So somebody with very good, like let's say Mercury in Gemini or Mercury in Virgo, that isn't afflicted, because sometimes we have to really look at a personal chart. They would obviously, their communication style would be possibly a lot clearer than somebody with Mercury in Pisces. I often say sometimes I feel like I'm talking, and it's a challenge that I become aware of through looking at my blueprint. So I know that sometimes I can be talking up there and people mightn't understand me. So whilst it's a challenge, it's also wonderful to know how I can actually remedy that. And it actually also, it's not just all about it being bad. Mercury in Pisces is wonderful. It allows me write, because Pisces energy is very much associated with the other worlds, let's say. And I have proven that by the writing I've done mythologically. So I have an ability to go to Pisces, the Pisces realm, which isn't very tangible, like Mercury is tangible, in Gemini, it speaks. In Pisces, it can have the ability to go to a different realm. So nothing is ever bad. There's a higher and a lower octave of every energy. So we look really at all of these things in a birth chart, and really to understand ourselves and get self mastery over ourselves, and not to think, oh, my Mercury in Pisces is awful, like nobody understands me. In fact, we have different abilities and different strengths. So we concentrate on those and realize sometimes if we are speaking in a way that someone doesn't understand it, we just need to pull that back and we need to take responsibility over that should we wish to, and find a way to communicate in a way that who we want to hear us hears us.
Beautiful. Well, I know that I do know one friend who has a lot of stuff planets in Pisces, and she has a hard time getting out of emotions. She's very emotional, but yet, so her strength is her emotional intelligence, which is off the charts. But her weakness is she can't relate it in another way. So if people are not in their emotions, like, well, it is more difficult for them. I just noticed already myself, even though I didn't study astrology, I'm very interested in it. And I see a lot of, like what you would say, challenges come up where people have these elements in their chart and they're heavy on one, light on another, or there's certain aspects. So I think that that is wonderful. Let's talk a little bit now about healing these blockages. So, like, one way is that what you just said, you help people become aware of their blockages. When they start realizing the blockage, they can start releasing certain patterns, obviously, to help themselves. But I'm curious how you work with that with people, because that's, you have such a gift with it, Dolores.
I do love my work. You know, any it's all about the art of intentional living is the way I call it, as I say. So it's not everybody that wants to be the academic and teach in a certain way. For me, I teach the art of intentional living. So I very much embrace that for the work I do. So again, when I'm talking to someone, it's coming back to what do you want? If it's like, I want to teach astrology, then it's really looking at, let's say again, going back to the Mercury and Pisces, I can do that, but I want to make sure that I put boundaries in place because again, Pisces, Pisces is associated with the ocean. There's no boundary on an ocean unless we build it, or unless it's land. It it's wonderful. It's bound. It's limitless. So we find a way to put a boundary on what it is we want to do. So, for example, if somebody, like, let's say, wanted to write more, wanted to write a book, and they have their Mercury in Pisces, it's to put a boundary on. Let's say I'm going to write every day for a half an hour. My boundary is that I'm going to, and I don't want to use boundary all the time, but it's becoming aware that maybe I need to find a way to, maybe it's I go to somebody for help even, to help me structure my words in such a way that people understand it. But again, it's more, I think that like somebody like me with lots of other things in my chart that show that that my work has the ability to go into the other realm, as I say, and to kind of write. Um, we look at the gifts we have. It's probably not likely that I'll ever write something very, 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 very structured, like, let's say, a tax book, because I'm not interested in it. You know what I mean? So we work with what we have and we just find, you know, a way to get the best out of everything. There's always a remedy for everything. Especially, I would talk about Saturn, though Saturn will show us in our chart where we will likely have challenges as well. And there's no remedy out of these challenges. It's a way to find discipline and structure in whatever area of our life. It's not trying to punish us, it's trying to make us so good at what it is that we want to do that we're the best at it almost. So, you know, there's lots of different nuances like this of what we look at, but I will keep coming back to the same thing. And, you know, it's to say to someone, what is it that you actually want? Let's take a look. And there may be some generational patterns that need to heal. Saturn has a lot to do with karma. So, you know, again, I know this one because where my own Saturn is indicates to me that I have karmic in a certain area of my life. So I hope I didn't go off point there, but it's really looking at the nuances of your individual birth chart. What is it that you want? And let's find a way to support you with this. But you have it inside you to do the work. It's just sometimes it's just showing the person the way.
It's so important what you say here, that the people have to look like, okay, I love how you brought up boundaries. Like some people are really good at boundaries, and maybe their ancestral karma, because of some trauma that happened, they don't trust life, right? They can't trust what's going to happen is in their best interest. So they could have this in their chart, and that would be the opposite problem. You need more boundaries, but there can be other people that from their ancestral karma, I can imagine, need less boundaries. So that's just one example. And you talked about the communication, but I think it's all aspects, right? How we're influenced by our past, because everything can come through the generations. Belief systems, you mentioned, emotional blockages, traumas, those are the negative. We know there's many positive. So I'm sure you're also looking at the chart to see the positive, true?
Absolutely. There are points called our destiny points, the north node and the south node. The south node indicates to us, and this is the way I speak about it, it's like our glass ceiling. It's where we're comfortable. And we all know that the magic happens when we break through our inner glass ceiling. And beyond that glass ceiling is where our north node is, our destiny point. So it's not as if, oh, this is my destiny and I'm destined to be here. Life is a journey, and we'll always get pulled back to where we're comfortable. So that's another point where we can see a breakthrough energy, as to where we are. We have a soul urge to go here, but it's not the easiest energy either. And then we look at the challenges. Maybe we might find that we have some mother or father issues to overcome on our journey before we can break through to our destiny points. But we all have like challenges in life. Our challenges are what make us grow. There are evolutionary catalysts, no more than me losing my legal job, which was not self chosen. So it's not about the blaming and the shaming. It's about, this is my journey. This is what I've come here to experience. When I do this work, and sometimes it might be a slow process because I'm being slowed down. But once I know that, and for me, unfortunately, a lot of it was, well, that was my path, was to learn all this after I've gone through the major challenges. But that's okay too, because it makes sense and it helps us to not add another layer of blame and shame and this and that. We can really look and see, where am I? Where is my soul urge to go? What area of my life? Is it my career? Or is it something even like that? I need to have the ability to, I have all this wonderful spiritual ability to go to other worlds, but nobody understands me when I open my mouth. So sometimes it's about growing the ability to um or growing in the ability to be able to bring that information down in Mercury style way that everybody understands, especially when I work a bit with children as well. And actually some marketing people say if a 6-year-old doesn't understand what you're trying to say, then you need to change your message. Because I would often get caught in that highfalutin, people not understanding what I do, because it's again, bringing it down into an easy to understand way. So yes, we bring in these, but they're, we could have, and it's not that what we're comfortable with is bad. We inherited all this wonderful, maybe spiritual messages from our ancestors and our ability to do what we do. But then maybe for us personally, for one person personally, it's to bring it down into a way that the ordinary person can understand. And when I say ordinary, we're all ordinary, but it's just sometimes if we speak too highfalutin, people don't understand.
Of course. So the thing is, what I know is that we're all unique. So what the mistake is to think everybody's the same. So that's a reason why people would come to you, because not just on communication, but I can imagine a trauma, like you said, in the family has usually a tremendous limiting, it depends on what kind of trauma, but a big T trauma that happened, let's say 10 generations ago, that never has been resolved and comes on your path to resolve it, things will keep showing up so that you have to face and clear that trauma. And then people could come to you and they could get tools, and I can imagine and understand that in the DNA. So, for instance, I give an example of something that I know. When I was with a kinesiologist in my DNA, there was a fear, tremendous fear that had happened from a plague in like 9 generations back of death, illness, because all of the children in that generation, almost all of her children in this one woman's life died. I write this in my book. So when that happened, it was never resolved. Like she just dealt with this was a big T trauma. Imagine, I think in those days they had like, I think she had 14 and 12 died in one big time from the pox, and that's what happened then. So people would just lose all their children, their families, blah blah blah. But we don't remember that because we're today, right, Dolores? We're in today. So we come with the fear that something's going to happen with our children. That's constantly in us. And so we're creating from that fear. So we're constantly things that are showing up, like with you, it was communication. Someone else, it can be another terrible fear like that. And they come to you and you would see it in their chart and be able to help them to understand it and to clear the limiting beliefs around it and to clear the fears. I'm just trying to explain that there's so many stories, right? That's just one that you're busy with the communication, but other people have like other terrible fears that are really big that need to be cleared now, truly. They don't need to carry them anymore. It's time to let go.
Totally. And that does show up in our birth chart. And like my mother, let's say that story, it's obvious to me that it was something that I have to heal in my generation and with mother as well because of the house placement of Mercury. But I have a lot in my area of my chart, which is early upbringing. So yes, it does. I use myself as an example because I know myself so well. But yes, a lot of stories, not just the communication, other ways of that story, as you say, can show up our mother, our father, our generation.
Yeah, like abandonment, right? Like themes of abandonment in relationships. That's a big one that people have. Themes of feeling not safe, you brought up, feeling all these things can come through the DNA. So those are the negative. I mean, we do have a lot of positive. So I think what you also just said is you help people to understand the positive, which helps them gain courage and strength to know why they're here, to know what they're here to do and how to live to their optimal potential. I love it. Okay, I also love that you're from Ireland. I have a big Irish family. I'm curious, for me, the Irish are just masters. There's something so magical about Ireland. I mean, we hear the leprechauns and mythical. And so I'm curious, like you, what does this mean for you living there?
I think I definitely love that side of Ireland. And I was at a solstice celebration last Thursday evening in a place called Ishnuk, which is the centre of Ireland, and it's the not the burial site, but it's where the goddess Eru, which Ireland is called after, where she lies. They don't say her body is there, but it's where her energy is. Let's say so. When we go to places like that, there are a lot of sacred sites in Ireland, and I think that it's there we feel more like all this kind of mystical. It's not tangible again. So I think that's why I love it because I have an ability to understand it, which a lot of people do, obviously. But like when we tune into sacred sites, we're tuning into something that's not real. That's not. It is real, but it's not tangibly real. So we have the ability, though, to feel the energies. So in places like this, like Ishnok, we get that mythical, and it's the stories, the great storytelling from Ireland. The stories of these, because this band last week was telling us these great mythical stories of the energies of the land before us, and it's fascinating. But he also did say, when a lot of people put focused attention on an area, we believe these stories, we really tune into them because we believe in the healing we get, that this collective energy also helps this mythical part come to life. People go to holy wells, for example, and, can tune into the energy and really feel the healing that they get from there. I had a crazy experience in Ishnock last week, as did a friend I was with, because, we both tuned in. And when I was training in my shamanic studies, my teacher pointed out that I was a mythical shaman. And at the time, I wasn't too sure what you meant, but of course, then I wrote fairy tales. So I have this kind of natural, innate, mythical part of me, which I guess a lot of people from Ireland have, but I really tune into it again because it's signature in my birth chart, the Pisces energy. I hope I didn't go off a bit point there, but I just think the whole mythical thing, like a myth is a story. It's a story that has like huge, big, powerful, but they're there to teach us lessons. A myth is a lesson. It's a usually some of them are quite awful actually. There are people killing each other and gods and blah blah blah. But there's an essence, a core essence for us to learn from those stories, that we can actually have our own myths in our own life, and that on our own heroine's journey, we can see parallels between the mythical and our own challenges. And I love dealing with symbolism and archetypes. It's just my language, looking at these big myths, finding the symbolism through dream work, which I also work with people with. What comes up in our dreams really sometimes can be like those mythical stories, terrible nightmares, but it's our own subconscious coming up at nighttime when our brain turns off, when the left brain turns off, the right brain, which has more access to these wonderful places, has the ability to show us what it is that we need to heal in our waking life. So yes, that's the mythical to me. It's the unseen again, and they're great ways to tap into the energy that is all around us wherever we are.
It's so cool when you were talking about this. I felt like chills everywhere because it's about also magic. It's about looking beyond what we see with our eyes. And also when you say the healing of them, I felt a feeling of hope and and positivity for always like what you say coming to an intentional life where you can use those stories to create something that you really want. It's helping our imagination to imagine that it could be different. I really loved it. I got like chills. That was so cool. So you've written two children's books, and I just love kids. So I want to hear about them.
So again, go back to when I found like I had no job, as I say, I was a stay-at-home mom. That really was the start of a huge journey for me, and it was all meant to be. So I mentioned that I looked around the schoolyard and I used to look at the dynamics, and I used to see things. So my first book is about a fairy who felt isolated in the schoolyard. So my stories are mythological in nature because they bring in um, unicorns, fairy godmothers, and they're about fairies. But they show real issues too that the fairies have, but that a child can also obviously recognize in themselves if they were having their own issue in the schoolyard. So I wrote the book, and then I set up free resources, which are still on my website. And my biggest thing is to help children verbalize how they're feeling, because feelings are transient. We feel something. And as a child, we don't always have the emotional intelligence, and sometimes as adults, to actually verbalize what we're feeling. So I set up these emotion trees so the child could read the book, maybe understand, maybe see that Lorcan was feeling stuck. But anyway, the moral of the story is that it's about going inward. And then the second book is about a girl fairy called Neve and the journey to Baba Yaga. So Baba Yaga is taken from a different mythology. So this is more a story about, it's again, it's mythological, and it includes dream work, and it includes the Connacht na hÉireann, which is the hag of Ireland, the old witch, let's say. But also we can look at that symbolism and archetype as a wise old woman, as someone even like me at my age of my life. And we all have the ability when we've gone through our challenges, we're always one or two steps ahead of someone and one or in something, and then one or two steps behind somebody in something else. So it's about the ability to go to the person that's 2 steps ahead of us. For a child, that could be an adult, a teacher, whatever, to get the help we need to move forward. And Neve in this book has an issue with dyslexia. So again, I was trying to bring in I was bringing in issues and challenges that any child could have, because these are quite common, and the whole emotional, put the emotions through that on my website so that children could understand and learn how to tap. EFT tapping is one of the therapies I do. So there's free resources there for children to actually tap through what they're feeling.
Now you help clients actually, all clients, not just children, heal relationships and heal businesses. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So relationship alchemy. Again, it's about self-mastery, who I am first, because our nearest and dearest are the ones that press our buttons. And they press our buttons because they know us so well. But we often project onto other people what's inside ourselves. And we can also see this through the birth chart as well. Our house number 1 is us, and the house opposite, everything is always on an axis. So the seventh house is about our relationships, our relationships with others, our business relationships, and any relationship where we sign a contract like a marriage. Our siblings is number 3 house. So it's about looking at the dynamics of that we're likely to come across in our life, and to pull back the part that is ours, in that where are we projecting our hurts onto others and expecting them to fill up our cup without them knowing that that's what we want them in. And there's always this kind of honeymoon period when we meet somebody first. We all bring our best selves to a relationship, to a first date, let's say. But it's only when, let's say, after marriage or after we have children, that the real issues can come up. So I think the more we understand, again, what's ours and what we're projecting onto another person. I'm not saying that it's always our fault, let's say, but it's just taking back parts of ourselves, our own energy, and embracing it. And then maybe if we're in a relationship that's toxic, then maybe we have the choice then to leave that, when we know that it's this we've taken responsibility for our own part, but that we've drawn in maybe, like, let's say, for example, very quickly, that we're a people pleaser. If that's something that we have, we then maybe become assertive. We stop being a people pleaser. That's going to cause a ripple effect in a relationship where the other person, we're suddenly assertive. It may be that relationship needs to be severed at this stage. So it also is interesting in business. So I would do synastry or composite chart for businesses. So let's say two partners in a company, let's say, and if just to show them how they rub off each other, how can they work together in a way that satisfies what they want to do. Again, Mercury would be huge in this, but also the person's triggers, their generational stuff. If you're triggering someone's generational pattern, how are you supposed to know that if you go into business with someone? It's not our responsibility to know everyone. The only person we have responsibility to know is ourselves, really. But what we can do then is we can understand that. Maybe we can change the way we, again, communicate. It's all about communication, conscious communication. We can be more conscious of how we communicate. It doesn't mean that we have to pussyfoot around people. The other person also will be part of this, so they realize that the person isn't trying to trigger them, is that it's their stuff that's being triggered. So it gives them the opportunity and the responsibility to work on their own selves and to not react, to be more conscious again in not reacting, and to realize this person ain't triggering me purposely. This is my story that I need to heal myself.
That's so true. Wow, we see this. Yeah, we see this over and over again, right? I mean, if you have a long marriage, you see those things come out. And I also think if you're in business, so I know I had to write, I share this, I had to write a book. I wanted to write this book and I wanted to include my sister. And I did look at both of our astrology, and the astrologer said, you guys can do this. It's a soul mission. However, you're going to get a problem because she's having more issues and her way of doing is not as quick as you. And so you're going to want to finish this a lot faster. And what is important is that you share that now. And that made the biggest difference because then we could say, okay, we have a deadline, we have to get it done. So I'm not like, I don't want to trigger you. I want to just make a deal when we're going to finish this. And we both agree and feel good about it. I give that example, for instance.
And that is absolutely wonderful example. And that is huge though, because if you then didn't say anything to your sister, you're starting to resent maybe the fact that she's not finishing something. That causes an energy. She doesn't know why you're suddenly acting a bit off maybe with her. Uh, so what you did was you got an understanding so that you could communicate openly and you could realize you were part in it and realize how part in it. I love it.
So also you empower women and the feminine and help women, but particularly it could be even a man with feminine energy, like literally find this voice, like dare to be themselves, dare to be authentic, dare to tell their truth, right?
Again, years ago, a couple of years ago, I was running courses called Finding Your Voice because that was what I had to do in my own journey as a woman was actually opening my mouth and saying no. So one of the things, I actually had a bullying incident in my mid-30s. I was bullied by another woman and I had a miscarriage at the time. Again, big story, but that was when I stopped and took action because we always have to take action. Now, I didn't do it always consciously again, but I became an assertive coach. It was one of the assertiveness. I became assertive. And to me, that is a huge part of all of our journeys is becoming assertive. If you want to stop being a doormat with everyone walking over you, you've got to get up off the ground. So it was something I had to do. I had to become assertive and say no, and no in a nice way. I hope that didn't come across aggressive because we act three ways in relation to our personal power: passive aggressive, or assertive. And really, it's just the ability to say, and actually, I could see that this story was creeping up in an organization last year, and I took myself out of it because I didn't want to repeat a pattern. I became assertive, and in my own self, I said, no, I'm not, this is not the way I want to go forward. And I wanted to be assertive. I was truthful about my reasons, and I left the situation. So that is a way to be true to ourselves authentically, is to find your voice. We all have the masculine and feminine energies within us, whether we're male or female. The masculine is, we need that, and I had to grow a backbone as well. That's how I would describe my journey with the masculine. I need to stand up straight and go, no, that's more a masculine trait where, I have a lot of feminine energy as well, which is all wonderful. It's all the receptive. But when we receive and we're empathic and we're all these wonderful things, if we don't have our own internal masculine to stand up and to offer us the support ourselves, then our feminine can be washed away. As in, like, we can become the people pleaser. We can feel as though we're lost at sea. We can become the victim. Nobody understands me. It's up to ourselves. And that was, again, I know that energy well, standing up, becoming assertive and going, this is the way I want to take my work forward or whatever. So yes, I have a huge passion for helping women on their heroine's journey, understanding that we split ourselves from the feminine when we come away from and we douse our own intuition and we maybe go forward more in a patriarchal way, which is what society, especially my age group as well, when we grew up, it was all about achieving, go, 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 go. But we need also to go to dip more into our own feminine and to understand our needs, which is our moon sign in astrology. If the moon ain't happy, no one is happy, is a saying that's I love from astrology, because we need to honor our own needs. So I really help women or men, but mostly women, with this particular area, because I suppose I know the journey so well. It's about embracing who you are authentically, understanding you do have needs and that you can honor your needs, but you need to honor them yourself, but rather than expecting others to honor them if you don't communicate them.
I love it. I mean, I do this work also, but I really resonate with you in this. I'm curious. You've shared a lot about what you've learned about your own chart through, understanding your Pisces and Mercury and Pisces. But how have you healed other things in your life through your work?
again, my generational was about, because of a lot of fourth house energies, which is about family lineage, it's understanding that this is that rather than comparing myself to my siblings, why did this turn out like this for me or whatever, is to take ownership again, that realizing that I do have generational healing to do with lineages, and to take responsibility to do that. And because life becomes easier when we do that anyway. It's not always an easy journey, but it's because it's on your path, on my path, and not for lots of other people as well. When you do the work, then you go forward. You have the ability then to be more authentic and to actually move into the work that you're here to do. Whatever that looks like, it could be the best mother in the world. It doesn't always have to be career, 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 but it's more following your passion, your purpose, and life just becomes more content.
Yeah, because I suppose if your south node was like a big business, you already did that, then maybe you come this life to work on your relationships or family issues. You see it all the time, right? But I just would love you for the audience to tell what your services are, what you offer, and also where you see yourself headed.
At the moment, I offer my astrology readings, which are, as you said, I love the way you put it, the shamanic astrology, because it's also, I will take people on a journey to understand themselves, but also do some shamanic work if that's what they want to do as well. So what that is working on a soul level to actually then heal this work. It's all very well to, when we go to a conference and we hear all these wonderful, wonderful things, and we're so enlightened, but then the following day we forget it all because we just go back to normal life, and we need to take action. So when we learn who we are, then I help people to take action. Sure, they want to do it with me or whatever route they take. So I would do shamanic work. I would help people. Also, it's about that go deep soul work. So coaching, really finding out what the story is that you want to heal, whether it be generational or whatever, find your voice. Um, I also really I go into companies as well, do wellness training, which is completely different. I do it as a shaman in the workplace, but not, I don't have to announce myself as the shaman in the workplace, but I do run events for workplaces, understanding again, especially the dynamics in teams, and helping people to be who they are within the team, showing up authentically. Because that is the crux of it, really, is helping people master themselves, find their own potential so they can move up that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have to have our basic needs met before we can reach our full potential. And if any of those are out, and I'm also running a mastery of confidence course at the moment, which is about confidence is kind of to me like in the middle of this hierarchy. We can't have confidence until these basic needs are met. One of them is about fitting in, and especially in teams that work on that. If you don't feel like you belong, then you will not use your voice, you won't feel safe, and you won't be actively engaged within the workforce. So I do offer a plethora, which as you said yourself, but basically it's all around self-mastery of yourself. And the confidence piece is huge because the tools I teach people can be transferred into any area of their life. So I'm starting that course in a couple of weeks online, actually. So that is really what I'm focused on again at the moment, is all this confidence piece.
Boy, I love it. And it's so true because when I've always taught that the lower chakras right now we're really healing those, the lowest, the safety, the relationships, the ego, the who am I chakra, which in order to, really be confident, we need to know who we are and we otherwise we don't bring to the table our true selves. We can't. So I love how you put that. And so now your mission for the next years, what do you think?
My mission is to finish my novel. Um, yes, and when someone asks me what I'd love to do, and I think it's we can or if anyone asks you what would you like to do in 5 years, if you have no issues, no challenges, no whatever, mine is always that I'd love to be writing full time, and I have that blueprint as well in my birth chart, with my son in the third house, which is about it can be about writing or whatever. I need that urge is inside me to do that writing and to finish my novel. So it is a love story, but it's about a deep healing of loss. It's generational. So that's my mission, as well as continuing on the work I do with people, and I suppose getting a bigger, getting my work out there more to different countries as well, because it doesn't matter where in the world we are. I've always worked online, even pre-pandemic. I've never just been here in the west coast of Ireland. I've always been online. So it's to really expand my network like that, so I can find my tribe of people.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I feel like I found you already. And I got like very happy thinking about reading your book one day. So that's so cool. And using all that wisdom in the book that you know, and then people, that's also the mythology and the magic. Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, Dolores, I thank you so much for being with us and sharing your wisdom with our audience today. And yes, I feel very grateful that I've met you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And likewise, I feel very grateful. It's lovely to meet a kindred spirit. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks.